I wanted to make a video to give you more of an in-depth vision of what I'm trying to accomplish. So right now we're in the VP shop, and this table I built out for student interns to learn how to prototype and design specifically guitar pedals. In conjunction with my company, I had a pair of student interns actually design a fuzz pedal, and they've custom made them, and they've sold 6 out of the 10 so far in just a couple weeks, and should sell out hopefully by the time school's out, and they'll get all the profits from that endeavor. So anyway, this is very similar to what I'm trying to build out in the classroom, but there are some key differences. One of the key differences is that the parts that are great for this aren't always great for learning and experimenting with circuits in general. First of all, the parts that I have here are very specific to guitar pedals. There aren't parts that you would use in other types of circuits. So there's not a lot of things that don't apply to audio, basically, here. Also, these parts, because they're going in a guitar pedal, oftentimes are smaller than parts you would learn with, or and so they can get really hard to read and really tiny. And so I'd like to stock the student side with larger parts that are easier for them to learn with. And so it's got to be kind of a completely separate inventory. But this is kind of the setup as far as storage, as far as like having like lab chairs and a lab height to the table that I'm going for. So let me show you kind of the classroom setup and how that works together with the design studio and what I'm trying to do on the other side of the design studio as well. So here we have a newly designed table desk for students that actually was designed by one of our teachers here and our co-director, and it's pretty cool. I'll show you how it works. But one of the things that's unique about it is its height is more like a lab height, where you can both stand and sit. It's more of an active sort of space. Another cool thing is that you can draw directly on it, so if I want to teach a math concept, I can actually do it at the student's table if I need to like clarify something or anything like that, and they can work on it directly. One of the things that I'll be using the funds for is to sort of power up all of these tables. So you can see I've got an architect lamp. There'll be actually 2 per table. Those will allow students to put light more directly on what they're working on, because even with the larger parts I want to buy for students to learn, they're still relatively small, so it's nice to have good light right on that one spot. And so there needs to be power there, power for the breadboard. So I'm going to be putting power strips and extension cables with things so that they don't trip. Another cool thing about these tables is that we turn into desks, which one allows them to be used for other purposes, be stored in tighter spaces, and it also has lots of storage underneath, which I'll be using to organize and store the equipment that the students will use, like breadboards and soldering irons and such, those such things. So that's kind of a student table. Let me show you kind of what I'm going for with the design studio. Okay, so here, this is just kind of like some tables I have here as placeholders. They're not really the right height to be a design studio, and you can see all of these storage containers are basically empty, ready for parts, but no parts in them yet. The school has already provided tons of things and more. This is even just part of it. More is coming in. I've got signal generator, soldering iron, breadboard with jumper cables, clamps to hold circuit boards in place. Even with smart, instead of using batteries to power all our stuff, we're using these power supplies that have built-in protection circuitry. So one, you're not wasting batteries and throwing them away, and 2, if the student shorts something on accident, you don't have like a like chemical meltdown on your hand. What else do I have here? Oh, multimeters or multimeters, however you pronounce that, actually, not sure. And all sorts of other stuff that's coming in for them to be able to work with. But this is kind of the space that I want so that students, as they are doing a lab or creating a prototype, they can come over and everything is labeled and organized. Oh, I need this part or I need these parts. Let me grab those, use them. Even when you're prototyping and you're not, or breadboarding, and those parts can be sort of pulled back out and put back in, oftentimes the process of actually bending and all that kind of stuff doesn't lend them well to be put back, and so oftentimes you're having to throw those little parts away. And so you go through them, which is why I want to stock up a lot and then also have an ongoing source through my Patreon page to sort of replenish those supplies. Okay, so this is the part where you're going to really have to visualize with me and imagine, because there's really nothing here at this point. So this is where I want sort of the CAD, computer-aided design, part of the studio. And here will be a computer, won't be an iMac. The goal is actually to get a Surface Studio, Microsoft Surface Studio, using the funds through Patreon. And that, if you haven't seen that computer, it actually can tilt back like a drafting table angle, and you can use a pen, and you have this huge canvas to not just do graphic work, but any sort of computer-aided design, including even potentially drawing out circuits and the schematics or the boards, and other stuff as well. So that's I kind of want the hub there. It would connect to, and this is really just imaginary at this point, there'd be this is just a scale, but a CNC machine that can mill so precise to down to 1/1000th of an inch that can mill circuit boards on the spot. Instead of us having to wait 3 weeks to send off the design to some fab and pay money to get their prototypes made, we can just do it right away, have it ready for them literally the next class period after they finish their prototyping design, and have them get right away, and it won't interrupt the flow of the learning. Over here, I'm looking to just get a document camera so I can project like examples of some sort of breadboard or whatever that I'm trying to use. And then I'd like to bring in the UV printer, which is in the shop right now, attach it to this system as well, so it's all one design system together. And that would take up this center part of the room as this really sort of creative space for the students and interns to design and really do real, not theoretical, not just on paper, but actually tangible tasks, which is what you got to do. I mean, no one is going to pay you in the real, well, I shouldn't say no one, but most jobs in the real world are not theoretical. You actually have to get on the ground and get some work done. So that's what we're trying to teach the students to be able to do, so that they not only graduate knowing all the math standards and the science standards and the language arts and humanities standards, but they actually can use them. They're not just academic in nature, they're practical, they're tangible. So that's what I'm trying to do. Thanks for watching.